There's a touch that says more than 1,000 words, more than a deep, lingering gaze, and more than the most eloquent compliment. But it's not the touch you're thinking of. It doesn't happen on her arm, her shoulder, or the small of her back. In fact, it doesn't even happen on her skin. It's a gesture so subtle, so seemingly insignificant, that 99% of men will never even notice it. Yet, it's the most definitive, subconscious green light a woman can give. It's a silent signal that the most difficult, most heavily guarded barrier, the one of genuine trust and comfort, has already been completely dissolved. And the place where this touch happens, well, understanding that is about to change the way you see every single interaction you have from this day forward. For most men, the space between "is she just being nice" and "is she actually interested" is a territory of agonizing uncertainty. It's a gray area filled with second-guessing, replayed conversations, and the paralyzing fear of making a move at the wrong moment, only to be met with that polite but firm rejection that stings for days. You focus on her words, her smile, the way she laughs at your jokes, believing these are the critical clues. But often, these are just the polished artifacts of social conditioning, the script of friendliness. The real truth, the raw, unfiltered signal of her genuine desire, and more importantly, her trust in you, lies in a completely different dimension of interaction, one that operates beyond the reach of polite conversation and social niceties. But what if you could leave that gray area for good? What if you could trade the anxiety of guessing for the quiet confidence of knowing? In this video, I'm going to give you the key to unlock that certainty. We are decoding the one nonverbal sign that acts as a litmus test for attraction and trust. This isn't a cheap trick. It's a lesson in human psychology, the silent language of personal space and symbolic intimacy. By the end, you will undergo a fundamental shift in perception. I urge you to stay until the very end because the most crucial part is not just identifying this signal, but knowing what to do immediately after. It's the step where most men who get this far accidentally fail. The transformation I'm promising you is profound. You will evolve from an anxious analyst of her words into a calibrated observer of her behavior. Imagine the freedom of being able to discern with a high degree of certainty whether the door is open for you to move forward. This isn't about manipulation, it's about perception. It's the ability to see beyond the social mask and read the authentic, unspoken truth that her body has already conceded. This knowledge empowers you to act with conviction, to escalate with grace, and to avoid the painful sting of misinterpretation. It's the secret advantage of being able to hear the yes she isn't saying out loud, allowing you to move with the assurance of a man who is welcome, not a man who is guessing. Before we dive into the core psychology behind this, I want to feel the energy in the room. It helps me connect with you, knowing we're on this journey of understanding together. So take a quick moment and just let me know in the comments what city or state you're watching from. I read them, and it's always fascinating for me to see where this knowledge is landing, from the bustling streets of New York City to the quiet towns in Montana. It creates a sense of community around this shared desire for deeper connection and understanding. So go ahead, drop your location below, and let's begin to unravel the mystery of the most powerful signal you've been missing. There's a touch that says more than 1,000 words, more than a deep, lingering gaze, and more than the most eloquent compliment. But it's not the touch you're thinking of. It doesn't happen on her arm, her shoulder, or the small of her back. In fact, it doesn't even happen on her skin. It's a gesture so subtle, so seemingly insignificant, that 99% of men will never even notice it. Yet it's the most definitive subconscious green light a woman can give. It's a silent signal that the most difficult, most heavily guarded barrier, the one of genuine trust and comfort, has already been completely dissolved. And the place where this touch happens, well, understanding that is about to change the way you see every single interaction you have from this day forward. For most men, the space between "is she just being nice" and "is she actually interested" is a territory of agonizing uncertainty. It's a gray area filled with second-guessing, replayed conversations, and the paralyzing fear of making a move at the wrong moment, only to be met with that polite but firm rejection that stings for days. You focus on her words, her smile, the way she laughs at your jokes, believing these are the critical clues. But often, these are just the polished artifacts of social conditioning. The real truth, The unfiltered signal of her genuine trust lies in a completely different dimension. And I urge you to stay until the very end because the most crucial part is not just identifying this signal, but knowing what to do immediately after. It's the step where most men who get this far accidentally fail. But what if you could leave that gray area for good? What if you could trade the anxiety of guessing for the quiet confidence of knowing? That is the transformation this video promises. I'm going to give you the key to unlock that certainty by decoding the one nonverbal sign that acts as a definitive litmus test for attraction and trust. This isn't a cheap trick. It's a profound lesson in human psychology. By the end, you'll see beyond the social mask and read the unspoken truth her body has already conceded. But be warned, the most crucial part is knowing what to do immediately after, a step where most men accidentally fail. Stay until the end to ensure you don't. The freedom you'll gain is immense. Imagine evolving from an anxious analyst of her words into a calibrated observer of her behavior, empowered to act with conviction and escalate with grace, avoiding the painful sting of misinterpretation. Before we unpack the core psychology that makes this all possible, I want to feel the energy in this room. So, take a quick moment and let me know in the comments what city or state you're watching from. I love seeing where this knowledge is landing, creating a sense of a shared journey toward deeper understanding. Go ahead, drop your location below, and let's begin to unravel the mystery. As your guide through this, my name is Dr. Emma Madison, and it's crucial you understand my perspective is grounded in the intricate psychology of human connection, not in simplistic one-size-fits-all dating advice. The first and most critical mistake men make is searching for a single definitive tell, a magic gesture that unlocks everything. But human interaction isn't a machine where you press a button and get a predictable result. It's an ecosystem. The truth isn't in a single action. It's in the pattern, the rhythm, and the emotional texture of the space between two people. My purpose here is to move you beyond the crude checklist of signs and elevate you into a sophisticated reader of emotional landscapes, where you don't just see the gestures, but understand the story they collectively tell. Therefore, let go of the idea that any touch, look, or word has a fixed meaning. Context is the invisible ink that makes everything legible. A touch on the arm can be a gesture of pity in one moment and a spark of intense desire in the next. The timing matters, the location matters, the emotional tenor of the conversation that preceded it matters. What I will be teaching you to look for is not the sign itself, but its congruence within the broader narrative of the interaction. Is there a consistent pattern of her moving into your space? Does the intimacy of her gestures escalate logically? Or are there contradictions? A warm smile paired with a body angled toward the exit. This is a higher level of social perception, one that trades blunt certainty for genuine, nuanced understanding. My authority on this subject doesn't come from a textbook list of cliched signals. It comes from years of observing the silent conversations that unfold between people, especially the subtle, often subconscious language women use to communicate comfort, trust, and attraction. I am here to act as your translator, to decode the signals that you see but do not yet comprehend. Think of me as the guide who can hear the melody in what sounds to you like random notes. We are about to move beyond the superficial and into the rich, complex territory of unspoken agreements and emotional resonance. Together, we're going to learn to read the room, not just for you, but for the connection you hope to build. So let's begin with the most fundamental layer of nonverbal communication, personal space, or what psychologists call proxemics. This is the invisible bubble we all maintain around ourselves. Most men intuitively understand that if a woman is constantly leaning away, taking steps back, or creating physical barriers with her purse or arms, she's signaling discomfort. Conversely, if she consistently leans into your space, positions herself closer to you than necessary in a group, or finds excuses for her knee to brush against yours, she is, at a minimum, comfortable with your presence. This is the baseline reading. It's the entry-level data point that tells you you're not a threat. But comfort is not attraction. It's merely the soil in which attraction might grow. Mistaking the two is the first trap, but you're here to learn to see beyond that, so the next signal is where the real story begins to unfold. Now, let's go deeper, because the space around her body is just the first frontier. The real magic, the signal that truly separates you from the dozens of other men she's merely friendly with, lies in understanding the concept of extensions of the self. These are the objects that are so closely tied to our identity that they become part of our psychological territory. Her phone, her favorite necklace, the book she's engrossed in, even the jacket draped over her chair. These aren't just inanimate objects. They are outposts of her personal world. In her mind, they are imbued with her identity. A stranger touching her phone feels just as invasive, if not more so, than a stranger touching her shoulder. Understanding this concept is absolutely critical, because it's the key that unlocks the door to the most powerful signal of all. This brings us to the moment of truth, the core of what I'm sharing with you today. The most definitive green light a woman can give you isn't when she touches you, but when she allows you to touch one of these symbolic extensions of herself. I call this the symbolic touch. It's a subtle, almost subconscious test of trust and vulnerability she grants you. When you, for a brief, contextually appropriate moment, bridge the gap and make contact not with her skin, but with an object in her intimate sphere, you are sending a powerful query. Her response in that split second is the most honest answer you will ever get. It bypasses her social programming and speaks directly from her subconscious feelings about you. Let's visualize a scenario. You're in a conversation and you notice she's wearing a unique necklace. You've built rapport, the energy is warm. Instead of just complimenting it from a distance, you wait for a natural pause, and as you say, "That's a really interesting pendant," you gently, and for only a fraction of a second, touch the pendant itself. Not her skin, not her collarbone, the object. You are now inside the most sensitive zone of her personal space without actually touching her body. This is a high-stakes moment. If she flinches, leans back, or her smile tightens, the answer is a clear no. But if she holds her ground, if her body remains relaxed, or if she even leans slightly into your touch, you have just received a signal that is worth more than 1,000 compliments. Now, let's explore a different but equally powerful variation of this principle: her hands. Hands are incredibly expressive and a focal point of our attention. Imagine she's telling a story, gesticulating with her hands, and you notice a ring or a bracelet. Praising it is standard, but elevating it to a symbolic touch is different. You might say, "I love the design on your ring," and as you do, you make a micro gesture as if to touch it, or perhaps you make the briefest, lightest contact with the ring itself. Her reaction is everything. Does she subtly pull her hand away, tucking it back into her own space? Or does she hold it there, maybe even angling it slightly so you can see it better? The latter is a profound gesture of acceptance. She is non-verbally telling you that your presence and your touch is welcome within her intimate territory. The most common and modern iteration of this test, however, revolves around the most personal object we all carry: the cell phone. When she's showing you a photo, a meme, or anything on her screen, the default male behavior is to look from a safe distance. This is polite, but it's a missed opportunity for a critical reading. The calibrated man, at the right moment, will gently use his finger to point to something on her screen, momentarily making contact with the device. He is now co-piloting her digital extension of self. Watch her body language. Does she tense up? Does she instinctively pull the phone back a millimeter? Or does she remain completely relaxed, creating a shared space around the screen? That relaxation is a silent but deafening yes to your proximity. But here is where we must add a crucial layer of nuance, a transition that moves us from observation to true understanding. Identifying the symbolic touch is only half the equation. The other half, the part that truly refines your perception, is learning to distinguish between a woman who is welcoming your gesture and one who is simply tolerating it out of social politeness. Tolerance is a tense stillness, a frozen politeness in her smile, a slight rigidity in her posture. She's waiting for the moment to pass. A welcome, however, is the opposite. It's a physical and emotional relaxation. Her shoulders might drop, she might exhale a small, unnoticeable breath, or her body might even lean into the gesture. This is a much more advanced reading, but it's the one that confirms you've not only passed the test but aced it. Context and timing are the grammar of this silent language. Attempting a symbolic touch too early in an interaction, before a baseline of comfort and rapport has been established, is creepy and invasive. It will trigger her defenses and guarantee rejection. This is not a pickup move to be deployed on a stranger in the first 30 seconds. It is a temperature check to be used when the water is already warm. The right moment feels natural, unforced, and flows from the context of the conversation. It's the difference between a surgeon making a precise incision and a butcher swinging a cleaver. Both cut, but the intention, skill, and outcome are worlds apart. You must first create the warmth, then, and only then, check the temperature. Furthermore, you must understand that this is not a one-time magic bullet signal. What you are looking for is a pattern of escalating acceptance. Perhaps it starts with her being comfortable with you in her personal space. Then, you might get a positive response to a symbolic touch on her phone. A little later, you might get an even warmer response to a touch on her necklace. It's the consistency and progression of these yes signals that builds the undeniable case for her interest. A single data point can be an anomaly. A pattern is a story. This is how you build an unshakable sense of certainty, not by latching onto one ambiguous sign, but by observing a coherent narrative of increasing trust and intimacy unfold before you. This leads us to a critical distinction that most men fail to make. They get one of these green lights, and they mistakenly believe the work is done. They see the signal as the destination. This is a fatal error in judgment. The signal is not the destination. It is the permission to begin the journey. It is the equivalent of air traffic control clearing you for takeoff. You are still the pilot, and you still have to fly the plane. Receiving this signal of trust and comfort is an immense privilege, but it's a fragile one. And what you do in the moments immediately following this signal is far more important than the signal itself. Getting the green light is easy, but knowing how to accelerate smoothly without crashing is the true art. So how do you interpret her reaction with precision? It's about looking for congruence. Is her body's yes consistent with her verbal communication and facial expressions? A true signal of interest is a cascade of congruent signals. For instance, if she leans into your symbolic touch, a physical yes, while her eyes soften and she holds your gaze for a moment longer, a facial yes, and her voice maintains its warm and engaging tone, a verbal yes, you have a trifecta of confirmation. This holistic reading protects you from over-indexing on a single isolated gesture and trains you to see the entire, beautiful, complex picture of human connection. It moves you from a simplistic sign reader to a sophisticated interpreter of emotional ecosystems. Let's be clear, the victory here is not in getting the girl. The true victory is in achieving clarity. It's the elimination of the agonizing static of doubt that plays in your head. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can trust your own perception. When she allows you to cross that symbolic threshold, you haven't won her over completely, but you have won the right to proceed with confidence. You've earned the knowledge that the path forward is clear of the most significant obstacles, distrust and discomfort. You are no longer a stranger guessing in the dark. You are an invited guest, standing in the warm light of the doorway. The game of guessing is over. And this is precisely where the greatest danger lies. Once you've received this powerful, definitive yes, it is incredibly easy to fumble the opportunity. Many men, in their excitement and relief, make one of a few critical mistakes that instantly undo all the trust and rapport they have just painstakingly built. They either over-escalate too quickly, becoming suddenly too bold and breaking the spell, or they hesitate and do nothing, communicating a lack of confidence that makes her question her initial judgment. Understanding this delicate transitional moment is arguably more important than recognizing the signal itself. Because the next move you make determines whether this beautiful, unspoken yes blossoms into a real connection or wilts and dies on the vine. Let's bring this to life with concrete scenarios. Imagine you're at a quiet bar, and she's telling a story, her hands resting on the table. She's wearing a simple, elegant bracelet. The uncalibrated man might blurt out, "I like your bracelet," an observation from a safe distance. It's polite, but it's just noise. The calibrated man, however, waits for a moment of shared laughter. As the energy peaks and then settles, he leans in slightly, not invasively, and says with genuine curiosity, "The detail on this is beautiful. as his finger moves to gently trace the edge of the bracelet, not her wrist. The critical moment is her reaction. A flinch, a subtle pulling back of the hand is a clear not yet. But if her hand remains perfectly still or even relaxes under his symbolic touch, she has just non-verbally communicated that his presence in her intimate zone is not only tolerated but welcome. He didn't ask for permission, he observed it being granted. Now consider a different scene. A park bench. She has her jacket, a cherished possession, lying between you. As the conversation flows, a leaf falls onto it. The average man might point it out. "You've got a leaf on your jacket." Again, a sterile observation. The man who understands symbolic territory, however, will naturally reach over and, in a simple protective gesture, brush the leaf off for her. This is a profound moment. The jacket is not just fabric. It's her property, her boundary, her extension of self. By performing a small act of care upon her territory, you are testing the waters of intimacy. If she smiles warmly, a genuine crinkled-eye smile, and says, "Oh, thanks," while her body language remains open and relaxed, she is not just thanking you for removing a leaf. She is acknowledging and accepting your role as a trusted presence within her world, someone who can tend to her space without being a threat. The psychological depth here is immense, because it bypasses the conscious verbal brain. When you touch her phone to point something out, or her book to ask a question, you are not just interacting with an object, you are making a request to her subconscious. Am I allowed inside your bubble? A woman's subconscious is a far more honest gatekeeper than her polite, socially trained conscious mind. The literal-minded man gets confused because he listens to the words, "Thank you, it's a gift," and misses the music, the tense stillness of tolerance versus the soft, relaxed posture of a genuine welcome. He is playing checkers, looking for the next obvious move, while she is communicating in the subtle, three-dimensional chess of human connection, a game played with space, trust, and the silent language of symbolic permission. But now I must give you the most important warning of all, a crucial course correction that will separate you from the amateurs and protect you from your own wishful thinking. The greatest danger in learning this is not misreading her, but misreading yourself. Because you want the signal to be a yes, your brain will actively search for evidence that confirms your desire. This is called confirmation bias, and it is the single biggest cause of embarrassing miscalculations in human interaction. A lack of a no is not a definitive yes. A woman who is merely tolerating your touch out of politeness, who freezes for a second, waiting for the awkward moment to pass, is not giving you a green light. She is giving you the benefit of the doubt. If you mistake her social grace for genuine interest, you not only misread the situation, but you also prove that you are not a safe person to be vulnerable with. This brings us to the second critical error, becoming a signal hunter. If you start obsessively looking for this one specific touch, you will miss the entire conversation. The symbolic touch is not a standalone magic trick. It is one note in a complex chord. Its meaning is derived entirely from the other notes playing alongside it. If she lets you touch her bracelet, but her feet are pointed towards the door, the signal is no. If she holds still for the touch, but her verbal responses are brief and she asks nothing about you, the signal is no. You are not looking for a single gesture. You are looking for a pattern of congruence, an undeniable symphony of verbal and nonverbal cues all harmonizing to say, "Yes, I am comfortable. Yes, I am engaged. Yes, I want you to be here." Any contradictory signal is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a clear answer that you must respect. And now, we reach the heart of the matter, the single most decisive revelation I can offer you. The ultimate green light isn't the symbolic touch itself, but what its permission truly signifies. Here is not a place on her body. It is the sacred, invisible boundary of her personal world, her phone, her jewelry, her space. When you reach across that line and are met not with tolerance but with genuine relaxation, you are witnessing a profound biological event, the complete shutdown of her subconscious threat detection system in relation to you. It's a primal, nonverbal declaration that you are no longer an outsider to be vetted, but a trusted presence welcomed inside the fortress. This is the victory. Because once a woman's deepest, most ancient instincts have marked you as safe and desirable, the game of conscious convincing is already over. You've already won. So now, you have the key. You have moved beyond the noise of conversation into the profound silence of behavioral truth, and you understand that the real victory is clarity, the quiet confidence that comes from seeing her subconscious threat detection system go offline in your presence. But this is where the real test begins. Knowing the door is open is one thing. Walking through it with grace, confidence, and perfect calibration is another. The moments immediately following this green light are the most critical and the easiest to mishandle, where a single wrong move can undo everything. That's why you must watch the next video on your screen right now, titled, "The First 3 Minutes, What to Do After You Know She's Interested." It is the essential second half of this conversation, designed to give you the exact playbook for converting that silent yes into a memorable, authentic connection. Don't let your newfound clarity go to waste. Click the video on your screen and let's complete this journey together.